Hey guys, it's Tomatoda here. Today I'll show you guys how to make these Spirited Away bath tokens. Somebody actually requested this tutorial, so I was like, why not? Although these tokens aren't difficult to make, they do require a few various materials, and since we are dealing with 2-part resin, it'll take a few days to finish. First, we need to decide which bath token we want to recreate, and I am choosing this one. I'll be using this mold that I got from Michaels. It's actually a lot larger, but I cut them into 1/3. And then we are going to take our scrap clay and put it through the pasta machine on the thickest setting. So here is the flattened piece. I am going to take this cookie cutter, pop that shit out. We're going to take our scrap clay again and put it through the pasta machine on the thickest setting once more. Cut 3 of the 4 edges and make sure that your piece isn't too small. Press it in, make sure you get a good fold. Take it out and cut it. Now, while I was pressing it inside the mold, the other edges did get slightly warped, so I'm going to realign. So this time I'm actually not cutting it. I'm just using my blade to make slight marks or indents for the T shape. And then once I think it's perfect, I'll be going in to cut out the shape. I'm going to use the back of my mold to roughly see if it looks good or not. Now we're going to make a mold out of the T and the circle. I'm using mold putty. If you have something else like liquid mold maker, go ahead and use that. I am inserting in my pieces. Make sure you get a good border around the T and the circle. It's time to take everything out. And here is our mold. Once that is finished, we will start on the resin part. The T is going to be black and the circle is going to be yellow. I'm going to be using 2-part epoxy resin. Pour in 5 milliliters total. So part A will be 2.5 milliliters and part B will be also 2.5 milliliters. If you guys don't know how to use resin, I suggest you look at other tutorials online. After everything has been poured, we're going to mix. Mix. We will be adding the colors. As you can see here, I'm using pastel chalks to color in my resin. Just using the pastel chalks, it could be the brand that I'm using, but it's very transparent. So in order to make it more opaque, I'm going to be adding in white from a different brand of pastels. It is time for the black. I'm going to be using the black from the same set as the white. It is time to pour everything in. Make sure you don't overflow it. After everything has been poured, we shall wait for it to harden. I'm going to wait about 6 hours and come back. The resin has hardened enough now that I can pop it out of the mold. It doesn't have to be completely hard. As you can see in the video, it's still somewhat malleable because it will go into more resin. My mold wasn't exactly perfect since it was putty, so here I'm just cutting off the excess part to make sure it's more perfect. Time to bring out our rectangular mold. And now I'm inserting the pieces to make sure it fits. Pour another batch of resin. This time we're going to pour in 10 milliliters total. So that will be 5 milliliters part A and 5 milliliters part B. There's a lot of bubbles because I mixed too fast. Sorry about that. Now we're going to pour the resin into the mold. We just want like a thin layer that covers the bottom. We don't want to pour the whole thing in. I am inserting the pieces. we wait for the first layer to harden. It doesn't have to harden all the way either, but just enough so that it doesn't mix with the second layer. You have to keep your eye on it for about the first 3 hours because whatever you put inside of it can shift as time goes on. We are repeating our last step. 5 milliliter A, 5 milliliter B, mix, mix, mix. Afterwards, we will add our red pigment. I also want the red to be more opaque, so I'm gonna add a bit of the white. Add any glitter that you like, whatever makes you happy. Stir everything together and then pour it into the mold. Just as we did with the first clear layer, you don't want it to be too thick. Wait about 24 hours before demolding because everything has to completely harden this time. As you can see, it's hardy party. Now it's time for us to demold. So this isn't the end. We still have a few more steps, which is doming and drilling. I'll be doming the back first. Since the edges aren't very even on the back, we're going to sand it flat. When the edges of the back are white, as you can see here, that's when you know it's ready to be domed. All clean! Take acetone, put it on a cotton pad, and then just wipe the back. You want to make sure to get the edges, more importantly than the center. I'm using 5 milliliters. You see, the front of the piece is very glimmerous. Glimmerous, is that even a word? Is very glittery and glamorous, but the back is not. That's because the glitter tends to sink to the bottom. So in order to make the back side also beautiful, we're going to add the same glitters, but no red pigment. Start pouring. Be careful not to over pour because we don't want it to overflow. Spread it towards the edges. Now we wait for 12 to 24 hours for the back side to harden, and then we will start doming the front side. Just as we did with the back, we're going to wipe the front with acetone on a cotton pad. Make sure you get the whole surface. When you first start rubbing, it's going to be a little bit slippery. Start pouring the same amount as last time, 5 milliliters total. Pour onto the front surface. Once again, make sure not to overflow, and then spread it towards the edges. After that is done, we will wait another 12 to 24 hours for the front side to harden. Here is the piece completely domed. The next step is to drill the hole. I'm using my Sharpie to make a mark on where I want the hole to be, and then I will use my electric hand drill to actually make the hole. A lot of the permanent marker came off while I was washing the piece, but there is a little bit left over, and I will take my cotton swab with a little bit of acetone and lightly wipe it off. So the bath token is actually done. If you want to use it as a charm or a keychain, it will require one extra step, adding in the eye pin. Because the eye pin is a bit long, I'm afraid that it might puncture through, which is why I'm actually going to cut the length. Making a mark where I want to drill the hole. You want to drill more into the red than the clear part because the red will somewhat hide the eye pin. After everything has been drilled, we're going to glue the eye pin in. I typically like to use resin, but when I make these, I make them in multiple big batches. However, for this tutorial, since I'm only making one, pouring in resin seems a little bit wasteful, so I'm going to use E6000. Twist it in. You can twist it this way or you can twist it that way. It's all up to you. And here is our final product. Wow, so glamorous. I hope you guys liked this tutorial, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them in the comment box below. And bye bye!